In this business, you need to network every day. I mean, they train us in Transworld that you need to join this, you need to join that group, you need to have at least 2-3 networking groups in order to succeed. That besides the cold calling or cold methods of doing other type of advertisements. I jumped on that idea as soon as I finished my training. I joined NLX at that point, Network Lead Exchange.
Welcome to the Franchise Hot Seat Podcast, where we talk about all things franchising. Now, here's your host, Dr. John P. Hayes.
Hi, I'm John Hayes with another episode of the Franchise Hot Seat, brought to you by the Titus Center for Franchising at Palm Beach Atlantic University. It's my pleasure to welcome Sal Majzoub. Thank you, Sal, for joining me today from Transworld Business Advisors. How have you been?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate that. Thanks, John.
Well, we've got a variety of topics to talk about with you, Sal. I love Transworld Business Advisors. I've known it almost from the beginning of the business because of my relationship first with Ray Titus and then with Andy Cagnetta. And Ray was my client for many years, years ago, and did a lot of work with speaking on behalf of United Franchise Group at expos across the United States and around the world. Did some other projects with him as well. And so I knew that Transworld, that he and Andy Cagnetta had collaborated, and they became partners in building the Transworld Business Advisors Network, which I think is one of the best franchise opportunities to buy. You have an opportunity to opine on that, Sal. Maybe it's not for everybody, but nor is McDonald's, nor is Chick-fil-A, nor is any other brand that's out there that many people enjoy. It's not going to be the right thing, which is one of the great blessings of franchising, is if this business isn't for you, there are probably 5 others that would be for you. You just got to do your homework. So I've watched Transworld grow through the years, and it's just amazing. This little concept based in Florida that even Andy himself wasn't sure that it could do anything more than operate in a few offices that he would own in Florida. But today, it's the world's largest business brokerage, offices across the world. When I lived in Kuwait, there was a Transworld Business Advisors franchisee right there in the great state of Kuwait, where I enjoyed meeting with him and interviewing him and having him speak to my students at various times. So very proud of what Ray and Andy have done with Transworld. It's a low-cost franchise. We're not here necessarily to talk about Transworld today. That's not why I invited you on, or to get people to go buy a Transworld Business Advisors franchise, but it may be the right thing for them, given all the upside to Transworld. I want to talk to you, Sal, for a couple of topics. But first I'm going to begin, and this may lead right into our corporate refugee topic. You were making great money in corporate America. This was pre-franchising. Is that correct? You weren't working in a corporation where you were involved in franchising at the time.
That's correct. Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah.
So I give you a bit of a background. During COVID, I was stuck in Dubai, and I got a job in Dubai. I was flying to Dubai. I got stuck in a hotel for an entire year. My family was in Toronto, so I couldn't fly. I was engaged. I was hired by an engineering firm, one of the largest in the world. They have about 6,000 engineers, to do some sales and opening new markets for them. And I had a very, very good salary. So I was making big 6-figure numbers. And during that time, since my family was not there, I was researching on the net all day long what to do when the world is out of COVID. So I discovered Transworld from Dubai. I went online and looked at what could be a next step for me. I didn't want to continue as a employee. And I discovered Transworld, called Transworld immediately from Dubai, and discussed my background, which I speak French at that moment, and I told them I'm Canadian. And they came back to me and offered me the master franchise for Quebec. So I gladly took it. As soon as I left Dubai, I called one of my ex-colleagues in Cushman and Wakefield, where I used to work with in Montreal, and I convinced him to leave and we started Transworld Business Advisors Quebec. That took almost 2, 3 years to get off the ground. Transworld was not known in Quebec, so that was a very difficult moment for me, leaving a large salary on the table. I decided to leave, and people thought I was crazy. And it took a while until we start making money. There's a lot into franchising. It's not easy. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of networking. What I discovered after 3 years is that you have to be networking all day long to get some funnels, some good deal flow. And that's what I did after a while. And years later, 3 years later, I decided to come back to the US. My eldest child was wanted to go to university here in Florida, so I decided to move here. And I sold my part to my partner, my shares, and I moved here. And I'm still working for Transworld Business Advisors. So I've been with Transworld for 5 years now. And it's like a family. I love this firm. Andy has been super nice to me, being a massive franchisor to to beginning working with him as an agent. He helped me during that transition, and he opened doors for me. He introduced me to, as soon as I came here, introduced me to Roy Assad. He said, you need to connect with that guy.
Right.
So that's exactly what I did. I picked up the phone, called Roy.
Yeah. All right. Well, so let's go back to Dubai. There could be worse places to get stuck for the pandemic than Dubai. Although Dubai, at the time of a lockdown, all you're really doing is spending time in your hotel and you're away from family. So I'm sure that was a very difficult emotional time for you and so many other people during the lockdown of COVID. But at that time, because you were on the corporate side and you had a great salary, you didn't know anything about franchising. How did you learn about franchising?
I was reading online, watching YouTube videos all the time. That's what I did. So since I didn't have a family, as soon as I got home, I was online doing research all day long, and I went through probably 50 franchises before I decided to land on Transworld. That was the thing I did. And I did read 50 FDDs. I know FDDs inside out now. From item 13 to 19. I interviewed certain franchisors, and nothing stuck like Transworld with me.
Okay. Yeah. So, but what attracted you? How did you even know to research franchising? What was the attraction? You were a corporate guy making a lot of money and could continue to do very well, even if you stayed in Dubai when things opened up. What led you to type in the word franchise in Google?
So I was aware that I was getting into mid-age. I was approaching 50. And
yeah, you're a young guy, let me tell you. From a 76-year-old, I envy you.
So I was at that time looking, okay, I left the US a long time ago. I was working overseas in Canada, Dubai, Switzerland, Spain. And I thought maybe the transition back to corporate America is going to be tough because I don't have enough experience in the US. I left the US 20 years ago. And I decided to go on my own to become an entrepreneur. I don't want anybody to tell me I'm too old for this or I'm too young, I'm over-experienced, I'm under-experienced. So I decided to go on my own. I took the decision that it's now time, it's now or never. So I just jumped the ship and
But when you're 50 years old and you've grown up in the corporate world and you've made good money, you get a lot of support in the corporate world. You get a lot of benefits financially. You get vacations that the company pays for. You get invited to parties and events and maybe trips. The corporate world, I loved my time in the corporate world for the most part. Wasn't building anything for myself, but I loved my time on the corporate side. But there was also that desire to do my own thing. And having no business in my background, not knowing how to do my own thing. So I'm curious about how you could think about franchising and going out on your own. Did you realize you would have to make an investment? Did you realize there might be some downtime where I don't make any money for a while, particularly in a commissioned business like Transworld Business Advisors?
Yes, of course. I forecasted that I will not do any money for 6 months. That was wrong, right? That was wrong on my part. I thought that within 6 months I'll be back on my feet. Took me
Yeah.
2 to 3 years to be back on my feet, and I'm
Wow.
still not making till today what I used to make back then, but I'm getting there. It's taking years.
Yeah.
But I'm more satisfied. I do not have a boss. I work hard. I'm working much harder than the corporate world. I used to work maybe 50 hours or 55. Now I'm working every day, including the weekends. I don't have any day off. Since Christmas, I didn't have one day off, which is fine.
Yeah.
I love my work. So for me, I'm not getting up to go to work and be in a corporate world. I'm getting up and working with business owners, and I love helping them sell their business. I love to see the smile on their face. It's more than money now, right?
Yeah.
It is money. Of course, I need to make money to survive, but
Yeah.
I also like assisting business owners who've been in business for 30 years and want to retire now and sell their business and have a trusted advisor. So I find joy in selling. A lot of our clients cry when we sell their business.
Yeah.
It's a baby for them, and when you sell that baby, they start crying. Last
Yeah.
week I sold a small salon, a small business, and the owner has been in business. She's Japanese. She's been in business for 25 years. She started crying. Um, I enjoy it. I love the being an entrepreneur.
You like making people cry.
I like to make people smile.
Yeah.
When you sell their business, it's a joyful cry. They're crying out of happiness.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the good things about corporate America that people love, that draws the big draw to corporate America, the money, the big office, the people, the networking that you get to do, the opportunities that you get. You loved all that. You did well in that kind of an environment. And I never lived in Dubai, but did a lot of business in Dubai while I was living in Kuwait. And so I know how fantastic it feels to be part of a corporate society. But making that move to going on your own where there isn't anybody to provide support. I don't know how to use this copy machine, which would be true for me, or anything technologically. I don't know how to do this. Who's going to come help me do it? That's a pretty basic thing, let alone learning who's going to teach me how to do networking in a way that's going to make sense. Now, maybe you pick that up from your corporate life, but what were going to be the big issues that you faced coming out of corporate America and suddenly now just being Sal Majzoub on your own? No people around you to back you up or help you. What was that feeling like, and why were you so willing to put yourself into some pain?
That's a good question. So I even came to Florida knowing only maybe 3 or 4 or 5 people. That's it. Didn't have any network. So that's I'm starting from below zero, even not even from zero. I Maybe it's my blood. I'm Phoenician. I'm from the Levant, and we're traders. You know that we're known to be traders. We're known to whatever you throw us, we survive. And I learned from my family that you work hard, you have good ethics, you will succeed. It may take time, but if you have good ethics and you keep on working hard, you will succeed. So I took that. I relied on my instinct, and it was a big jump. I mean, I have to tell you, the corporation I was working in Dubai is a Singapore-based corporation, engineering, one of the largest in the world, top 20. The chairman is my best friend. And he told me, "Are you crazy to leave? A secure job. I will never fire you. And you're leaving because you have a dream." I told him, "Yeah, I want to leave. And I don't want to be an employee anymore. It's now or never. I want to build something."
So
And
talk about the dream, because that's what the American dream we talk about. It's been tarnished a bit, but the dream that people latch onto, maybe when they're youngsters, they see a movie like The Founder, for example, or they read a book, and they have the dream to be in their own business. And they still may not know anything about franchising. If they watch The Founder, they will, and they might get hooked on franchising. Few people ever do when they're young, unless you're a Titus or a Dwyer in America. You don't know anything about franchising when you are in sixth grade, but they did, and they came up knowing that franchising would be their world. But students who I teach at the university who are 18, 19, 20 years old coming to do their undergraduate degree, they don't know the word franchising. They don't know that it exists. They don't know that it's an opportunity. And so they don't know they could use that as a vehicle for their dream. But you didn't know that either at first. You were learning about franchising in a hotel room in Dubai where you had to hang out because of COVID. But what did you think about franchising as a methodology? Did you understand it? Or did you just see it as, okay, I have a choice. I can go out on my own, the way Andy Cagnetta did originally, with no one to support me, no one to know my brand, not really knowing what I'm doing because Andy didn't come into it as a business broker. Or I could go find a franchise network that could give me at least the intellectual capacity that I need to become a successful franchisee. But what was going through your mind? This would help other people who may be in corporate America now. So if you are in corporate America and you want to know what's the escape route, Sal's got the escape route. So tell us about that, Sal.
So yeah, I remember from my MBA class, I remember the failure rate of people starting a new business from scratch versus someone buying a franchise. If you want to start on your own, I think you have less than 20% chance of succeeding. Within 2-3 years, you're going to shut down your business. You're going to go back to a corporate world. Whereas if you buy a franchise, there are systems, processes, procedures in place. And people have done it many, many times before. Let's take a famous franchise. Let's take McDonald's, right? The systems are there, right? You don't need a chef. You need somebody who knows how to read the manual and follow procedures and processes. At my age, I mean, if you are 25 years old, you want to start on your own, maybe you have 5 years to waste and throw down the garbage without, you will start all over again. If you're 50, you don't have that luxury. You don't have much time. So I decided to go into franchising because it has a much higher success rate. I remember that from my MBA day at UF. So this is what I did. I started researching franchising again, reading about success rate, failure rate, went on Entrepreneur magazine, read about the top 100 franchises and discovered Transworld. It's a low cost, high potential, high revenue, high income franchise, and was ranked number 1 in the US and in the world, I believe, in terms of business brokerage.
Yeah, number 1 in the world. So I do want, as an educator, just to add something to what you're saying about the success of franchises. Franchises do fail. We know this. And some people might try to hide that or play it down. Franchises fail. Some of them don't fail at the rate of non-franchised businesses. We can find franchise brands that have very good success rates. But it's not going to work for you unless you're cut out for that kind of a franchise. And this is where people don't do their homework, Sal. They think, oh, I want to buy that brand because my brother-in-law, who's not all that smart, he owns one and he's doing really great. Well, your brother-in-law may be smarter than you think, or your brother-in-law may just have a different personality that suits him to that particular franchise. And you don't have that personality. So you're not likely going to succeed in that franchise. But there's some 4,000 franchise brands in America. If you're cut out for franchising, first and foremost, you can find a brand that you can match to your personality that you most likely can succeed at. And that's the goal. Should be the goal of every franchisor, is to find those people who are the right match for us. It's not always the goal. Money is the goal. I'm going to put that right out there. But it also needs to be the goal of the franchisee, the prospective franchisee. Don't let a franchisor sell you a franchise that you're not right for. And it's easy to find out if you're a good fit for any franchise brand. That's not what we're here to talk about today. But I help people with that separately, how to figure out if you're a good fit for ABC brand. So, Sal, what do you do all day as a Transworld Business Advisor franchisee? Why would I want to do this? Why did you want to do it? Why would it be so admirable and exciting? Why does it lead to a dream?
So for me, I used to work in commercial real estate with Cushman and Wakefield a long time ago. And after COVID, I saw that the office leasing part was decimated. And I was doing office leasing and investments. So I couldn't go back to that world. I wanted something similar with similar, let's say, attributes needed to succeed. And the thing I found with Transworld or business brokerage is that it's very similar to commercial real estate and it's different at the same time. It's similar in terms of it's a long lead and it takes a long time to make money. And to close a deal could take up to a year. Sometimes larger deals take 2 years to close. Similar to commercial real estate. So you have to have patience. I do have patience. So that's one thing that's good with me. I have patience. I can wait. I can wait to succeed. Now, the thing that I do most of the time daily is networking. In this business, you need to network every day. I mean, they train us in Transworld that you need to join this, you need to join that group, you need to have at least 2-3 networking groups in order to succeed. That besides the cold calling or cold methods of doing other type of advertisements. I jumped on that idea as soon as I finished my training. I joined NLX at that point, Network Lead Exchange.
National Lead Exchange, that Roy Assad is the franchisor. And Roy is here in West Palm Beach. He's a member of the Titus Center Advisory Board. I'm very happy to have Roy, as he knows everybody in Palm Beach County. So just for me to give some background, NLX, National Lead Exchange, was created at United Franchise Group and was a UFG franchise brand for a period of time. Roy became a franchisee and a very successful franchisee. And Roy then gets the opportunity at one point to buy the brand and to develop it himself as a franchisor. And it is a networking, business-to-business networking opportunity. I don't generally give that much information, but I want to in this case because I'm leading to something else, Sal, that you're talking about. So go ahead. You got involved with Roy Assad after you became an NLX franchisee.
Correct. Yeah. So it's Network Lead Exchange, and Network Lead Exchange is like a BNI. So I was a member of BNI before. I found out that it's very demanding on me. I needed to spend hours and hours a week to be a BNI member. Then when I met Troy and he invited me as a guest to Network Lead Exchange. It's less stringent. There's less demand on Network Lead Exchange as being a member.
Why is that? Why is BNI more involved? Takes more time. I'm not aware of that. BNI is the world's largest in terms of networking, business-to-business networking. Mary Thompson is the president. She was at the Dwyer Group, where I worked with the Dwyers for many years, and Mary then broke off and went to become president of BNI. About a year ago, spoke at the Titus Center, was fabulous and doing a great job. She's chairwoman of the International Franchise Association today. So why was BNI so time-consuming, whereas NLX is not so time-consuming?
So BNI is great. It's a great corporation.
Yeah.
They in BNI, if you are absent more than 3 times a year, you're on probation, and they may let you go. And with my time, sometimes I cannot make it to BNI. What do you call it? Meetings every day, once a week. It's once a week, and it's longer. It's about an hour and a half, and you also need to do a lot of extra activities. Meaning, there's a lot of education involved. You need to do classes. You need to do one-on-ones, meet people outside the firm. It is time-consuming. Some people swear by it and are extremely successful by it.
Very successful. Absolutely. One of the most successful franchises in the world.
Correct. And some people were not as successful. In my business brokerage world, I found that I need to network with more than BNI members. I have a lot of work. and I could not commit to BNI. When I saw, when I met Roy and I went to NLX, you can be absent once a month, and there is no continuing education because anybody that joins NLX is supposed to know the ABCs of networking, right? They're not coming out of college to learn networking. These are professionals. They know how to network. They just want to get more leads, and they want to connect with other business owners or entrepreneurs in society.
Yeah.
So as soon as I joined, I loved the atmosphere, and after a while, after 2 months, I got two leads. One was a warm referral. The other one was from a doctor in the chapter who referred me to another doctor who wanted to sell his business. I saw the power of NLX, and I went and talked to Roy. I told him why being a member is great, but I want to control the room. I want to be the owner of NLX. I want to buy a
Right.
franchise.
So you want to be not only a Transworld Business Advisors franchisee, you want to be an NLX franchisee.
Correct. I wanted to be like most business brokers. Honestly, anybody in the commission business or brokerage business, they spend a lot of time and money chasing people who they don't know, they don't trust, and they do online ads, emails, LinkedIn outreach, cold calling. I mean, these are not worthless; they're good, but
Yeah.
the closing rate is extremely small, and it's very
Yeah.
inefficient and time-consuming.
So NLX is one morning a week, or I guess it could be a lunchtime or an evening time, but I guess it's a morning meeting for an hour or so where 20, 30, 40 business people, one of a kind. You can only have one realtor for commercial, one for residential, one lawyer for a business, one lawyer for divorce, one lawyer for real estate, etc. But you have one of a kind businesses represented. You get together for a breakfast, but the business of the meeting is to, hey, I've got a lead for you, Sal. Friend wants to sell his business. Is that how it works?
So we meet once a week. In my own chapter, we meet at 8 a.m. every Wednesday. Uh, at the beginning, we exchange we meet separately for 10 to 15 minutes until everybody is in the meeting, and then we start the meeting. The meeting starts by every member having a 1 minute pitch. So you pitch about your business, you talk who your best referral person would be and what you're looking for. So everybody else, the 20 or 25 people in the room, they know exactly what Sal is looking for. He's looking for somebody in their 60s or 70s wanting to sell their business. And I pitch my 1 minute pitch, and people understand. Week after week after week, they start to understand what I'm looking for. Every time I change the pitch a little bit. And then we make the round, right? After that, there's a presentation. There's somebody every week that's doing a presentation on their business. For example, I do a presentation every 2 months, let's say, or 3 months. I talk about business brokerage. I talk about Transworld. I tell them what I'm looking for. I teach them, I educate them about if they own a business, what's the best way to increase your valuation when it comes to selling. So I give them tips too. Everybody does this. Everybody gets a chance to speak. Now, besides that, we also meet one-on-ones to get to know each other more. With time, people start trusting you. And when people start trusting you, this is a business of trust. Business brokerage is a business of trust.
No.
It's not easy to tell someone who was thinking about selling the business to give you the business to sell. They want to trust you. They want to be referred.
Sure.
They want a referral. They want their accountant to talk about you, their attorney to talk about you. That's what we have in NLX. I have an accountant. I have an attorney. They talk to business owners. They say, if you want to sell, this is a guy that we trust. He can handle your business. This is a warm lead. It's not a cold lead. When I talk to them, they're waiting for my phone call. They're not bothered by my phone call. I'm not cold calling. They may say they're busy, not now, call me later. No, this is a warm lead. I go in, I pitch, they're very happy. We go over lunch. We build a strong relationship. And then we go on to list their business. This is the power of NLX. That nothing else I found matches it. So I've been with NLX for 6 months only. I got, I believe, 3 leads now. Three
Wow.
leads, 3 warm leads. That's a lot. That's a lot for a
Yeah.
business broker. And I swear by it now. I will never leave. And I'm telling any accountant, any business broker, any realtor, any person involved in selling insurance, if you want to get warm leads, there's no other way to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
with AI, there are robots talking to each other now. It's becoming even colder out there, where we have to go back to basics and meet in person in order to build trust.
So you own two franchises. You are a franchisee of Transworld Business Advisors, the world's largest business brokerage that is controlled by Andy Cagnetta and Ray Titus at United Franchise Group. And then you are a franchisee of National Lead Exchange. Roy Assad is the franchisor. Am I correct that you have two franchises?
Yes and no. I used to own Transworld Business Advisors in Quebec. I sold it to my partner. Now I
Okay.
work with Andy as an agent in the state of Florida.
Okay, so you're an agent within Andy's office. You're not currently a Transworld franchisee now, but
No,
you
I
might
sold,
be.
yeah.
Okay, so what I want to talk about is a lot of people, they like the gig economy and they like to have a side gig, a side business, something in addition to what they're doing. Maybe they could do a business while they're a student, and my students get a lot of those pitches. And by the way, I think most of them are fraudulent. I think this is not something that, in many cases, that a student can do or should be doing. But there are businesses, very few that I have found, and NLX is one of them, where I think ideally a student could be, a mature student could be a franchisee of NLX to help them network with business professionals and whatever it is that student might be selling as a business. So I think it is an opportunity, but more so, I think it's an opportunity. One of my graduates is Matthew Cancino, who is in the video production business, helping franchisors, particularly and franchisees, market their businesses through video. That Matthew, a U.S. Marine, an older student when he came to me, graduate of the Titus Center, studied franchising, didn't come to the university expecting to study franchising, didn't know anything about it. He was going to study management, but he studied franchising. So now he's out there looking for people who want videos to help promote their business. And I don't know if he's attended yours or Roy's NLX group. I think maybe it's Roy's group that he attended. That's the perfect type of young person who could use an NLX as a side business. It's not, am I correct that NLX, you don't have to do it full time? You have another job. You have Transworld Business Advisors and you use your NLX franchise to feed the business for Transworld. Is that how it works?
Yes. So I know Matt. Matt is in the West Palm Beach, is a member in NLX West Palm Beach chapter. And he definitely getting a lot of leads in that chapter. I gave him a lead last week, close lead. That's a warm lead for that's a renovation company that wanted to do two websites. So yes, he's becoming very successful in NLX. NLX is definitely not a full-time job unless you want to own 5 or 6 chapters or 10 chapters. If you want to own just one chapter, you need to start working for that chapter in the beginning for the first 2 months, 6 hours a week, and then it drops. So you need to start getting members. Getting members is the most difficult part. The way I found it, it's become very easy to me to find new members. I discovered a way to find new members. I go online. I did an A/B testing, which I shared with my group, my NLS group. I went on LinkedIn, did 2 campaigns to connect with people in Palm Beach Gardens, Jupiter, and West Palm Beach. Campaign A was discussing if they want to sell their business. Campaign B is I'm inviting you to my NLX chapter as my guest. Campaign A and B, they generated a connection rate of 50% approximately. But the follow-up question, are you in the market to sell your business? Would you like to know more about the process? 7% of people respond to me. Whereas in NLX, it's close to inviting people to come to my chapter first. I'm getting a response rate, positive response rate of 20%, almost 3 times more.
Mm-hmm.
I invite them to NLX, to my chapter. They become a warm lead. They're no longer cold. And I'm able to convert those that want to sell into a listing. So this is working very well for me. I was surprised, but that's the way I'm going forward. I'm connecting on LinkedIn and other ways. Whoever I meet in a restaurant or casually in a party or somewhere, I invite them to come as a guest. I don't talk about Transworld. Just come pitch your business.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about another opportunity, quote unquote, that gets pitched to my graduates, to my students. And I have 12 of my students slash graduates have become franchisees of 13 different brands. One of them has owned 2 different brands. And these are 20-year-olds. These are not people who've been around 30, 40 years and exposed to corporate America. They knew from studying franchising with me at Palm Beach Atlantic University that they were going to buy a franchise. They wanted to be a business owner, and they felt that franchising gave them the guardrails, even though it comes with some headaches. As my students will frequently say, depending on how entrepreneurial they are, I've got to follow the franchisor's system. And yes, you do. And if you don't want to, don't buy the franchise, because the franchisor knows the system works. The franchisor is going to insist that you follow the system. And if you don't want to do that, you're going to just be miserable. So don't do that. But my students and graduates will buy franchises sometimes, and I'm emphasizing students and graduates because just about everyone who has bought a franchise was still a student when they bought the franchise. And I think that's a mistake, because you got to get through college. Now, maybe you don't. I have one who's a student, but I haven't seen him for 2 years because he is so busy building his service window washing franchise that he had to put his degree aside. And maybe that's okay, because you don't have to have a college degree to be a successful franchisor or franchisee. But if you've invested 2 or 3 years already in a degree, it would be nice to get it completed. But you find when you start running a business, you don't have the time to do that. So people will pitch my students on, oh, this is a part-time opportunity. You can be a student, you can do other things, and you can spend 2-3 hours a week in this business. I have preached from the beginning, probably not, and be very cautious of that. These are usually service-type businesses. Maybe, well, definitely they're under $100,000 and maybe under $50,000. But several of my students have gotten stuck in these offers. Fortunately, they got out. Either the corporation bought them back, they didn't lose money, or they sold to a neighboring franchisee and they didn't lose money and they learned a lesson. So rarely have I found that really is a part-time business. NLX is a part-time business. I believe BNI is a part-time business. There are some others that are service-type businesses that you can do 3 or 4 days a week and make some money from that while you're doing other things. How do you feel about that, Sal, when somebody comes to you and says, I don't want to work. I've got my job. I want to keep my full-time job, but I want to put some money. Maybe I'll invest $300,000 in a franchise, but I want you to operate it for me. Or I want to hire a manager who's going to operate it for me while I collect the money. How's that working out?
Honestly, not very good. I mean, if you want to start into franchising, you definitely need to jump and be an owner operator to understand the business. I'm not talking about NLX. NLX is different. It is a part-time thing, requires 6 hours a week. 6 hours a week, but other franchises you need to work 60 hours a week, 70, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
You cannot put a manager in a franchise and keep your job because you have to pay him. If you pay him, you have to pay him a market price, market wage, market salary, and that's expensive. He's gonna eat the majority of your profits. Now, if you own 3 or 4 franchises and you have a area manager, yes, you can make money. But owning one and not working in it, I never seen anyone succeed in that. Honestly, to be honest, yeah.
How many people want to sell their businesses today? Are we at a point in our history where there are more businesses than ever before that are for sale because we are an aging population? People think, well, I'm going to retire at 65. Why would you do that if you got great health and you're engaged in building a business or working in a business? And so they don't retire until they're 75 or maybe 80 years old, depending on the type of job, and sometimes not even then. So we aged, we have businesses, and it's time to give them up at some point. And maybe the kids don't want the business because they got their own ideas. Are there more businesses for sale today or fewer businesses for sale?
So here's my take. I think there's a lot of businesses for sale. People are, baby boomers. I mean, people are aging, right? Approaching 60s. It depends on the type of industry. For example, restaurants, as soon as the owner reaches, they're 60, 65, they want to sell because they've been standing on their feet for 20, 30, 40 years. It's a
Yeah.
tough business. If you're sitting on your desk and doing other type of work, it's not that exhausting. Physically, restaurants are physically exhausting.
Yeah.
Dentists are physically exhausting. What else? Hairstylists are physically exhausting. So as long as they're not physically exhausting, people stay on until they're in the 70s to sell. I mean, I was in Canada when I took Transworld to Canada. I remember the government of Canada was telling us that in the next 10 years, about a huge number, 20% of businesses are going up for sale. 20%. That's why I took the franchise to Canada. But we discovered that it's not the case. I don't know how the government's got those numbers, but we're talking networking all day long, and we discovered that not many people in Canada wanted to sell. In the US, it's different. In the US, people are more dynamic. They do sell businesses and jump into something else. They acquired more money. They're paying less taxes. They acquired more money. They amassed more money. They saved more money. So they can retire at an earlier age. That's what I found the difference between Canada and the US. Now, yes, there's a lot of people wanting to sell, and there's a lot of buyers too. Buyers come to the US by way of buying a business and getting an E2 visa. A lot of Canadians, Latin Americans, and Europeans have treaties with the US. Governments have treaties with the US for the E2 visa, and the way they get here, they have an American dream, or they want to make more money, or they want to pay less taxes. They buy a business and get an E2 visa issued, and their families can join them. So they come mostly to Florida. That's what I found. They don't go to Canada. They don't go to cold places. They come to Florida. That's why it's very dynamic. The market is very dynamic here.
So the E2 visa, has that become difficult to get in the Trump administration? Is there are there lots of red tape to get any kind of visa to move to the United States from a foreign country and to work and bring your family? How difficult is it?
I am not a lawyer, but I from talking to different investors, it's taking more time. There's no more red tape. They're scrutinizing a little bit more and taking their time. It used to take for a Canadian a month or a month and a half. Now they tell them it takes up to 6 months to get the E2 visa after they buy a business.
And it costs them what? They've got to invest at least $500,000 or $1 million, depending on.
No, I mean, there's no set number or set figure. You can invest whatever you want. I think they would like to see a minimum investment of $100,000 only to get the E2 visa. But what they're looking for is they want to see a business plan where you can make enough money to survive and you employ 2 US citizens at the same time. Or a figure, let's say 2 employees making each at least 25,000. So they're looking for you to hire locals too. That's all. It's not difficult. It's taking longer though, yes.
But let's put aside the foreign population coming into the United States. What about Americans who want to buy businesses that already exist in America? Are there more people looking, more Americans of any age? And I want to talk specifically about the Gen Z population that's coming out of college. there are 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds who I assume want to become business owners because they're sick and tired of working for a boss in a corporation and they want to do their own thing. What kind of opportunities are for them? And then also the Gen Zs coming out of college, where are their opportunities?
So for people in their 40s and 50s, after COVID, I see a lot of people wanting to leave the corporate world. Definitely, COVID has changed a lot of things in society. They do want to buy more businesses. Problem with buyers is majority of them end up not buying. The majority of buyers, dream about leaving, and when it comes to actually signing and jump from the ship, they get cold feet. So maybe 90% never do it, but you have 10% that do make the jump. Now, younger generations, they are mostly into tech, social media, anything that has to do with the digital media. They understand more the new world, the AI, all these things. This is what I see them going if they want to be on their own. I don't see them buying a typical franchise when they go out of college.
But when you buy an existing business, one of the upside of that is, the business has business. If you buy this business and it's got 100 customers a day, you're going to walk into a business that's already successful. You don't have to build it up, but you're going to pay more. You're going to pay a multiple of earnings to get that existing business. And 20-year-olds coming out of college generally don't have that kind of money. But that's a better bet for everybody. Buy an existing franchise that's already, you can skip the startup years, which are painful when you don't have any business. How often is that happening, that people are buying already established, successful businesses and paying a multiple for them?
So the majority of people calling me are looking to buy an existing business. They're not looking to start from scratch, because starting from scratch is a long process, and especially if you need a brick and mortar space that takes months and up to a year to secure a location and sign the lease and finish with the leasehold improvements. Buying an existing business, you're in business the second day after you close the deal, right? And you're making money right away. If it's a franchise, that's a great thing. There's a lot of demand for existing franchises. If it's not a franchise, multiples vary by risk. So the riskier the business, the lower the multiple, right? The more secure a business is, the more independent from the owner the business is, the higher the multiple that's assigned on the business. And if the business has one client that's taking up to 25% or more of their revenue, they tax you and the multiple goes down. If you have policies and procedures, multiples go up. So there's a lot of items that affect the multiple here. Franchises are definitely safer. People, they know how to assess risk, even though they may not do it on an Excel sheet, but they know how to do it mentally. Yeah.
So Gen Zs are likely to buy service businesses right now because they're in their 20s. All of my graduates, with one exception, all of them have bought service businesses and invested under $100,000. One just recently bought a cafe franchise business, a Three Natives, and that's more than $100,000. But for the first 9 years that I've been teaching at the Titus Center, my graduates bought service businesses every time. What do you see the ratio between service and food and beverage businesses, or fast food businesses, or cafes, coffee shops? Are the service businesses more popular, and if so, why?
So foreigners, they prefer to buy F&B. For some reason, they love F&B.
Yeah,
Locals, they prefer to buy a service business.
yeah, because we know how difficult it is to operate F&B.
Correct, yes. I mean, service businesses are a lower entry cost, right? You don't need to be on New York Fifth Avenue to open a shop that's going to cost you thousands of dollars to open. Service businesses, you can be in an office, and these days office rates are very attractive, or you can work from home. A lot of franchises, you can work from home too. I have a roofer that wants to sell. I met him a few months ago. He's built a successful roofing company. In 5 years, he's making $600,000 in profit to himself, and he's operating from home, no office.
Wow.
Now, there's a lot of demand on trade businesses. That's what I see. Smart guys coming out of college, I've seen a lot of them, are getting together, raising money to buy trade businesses like roofing companies, landscaping, commercial cleaning, pest control. They're all afraid of AI. They think that these jobs will not be taken by AI, and the smart guys are buying these corporations. I'm not sure if this is AI will take other type of businesses, but we'll see. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of demand for things. People calling me these days, find me something that's not going to be replaced by AI. That's the first question. Yeah.
So you were middle-aged when you found franchising and decided to take the leap out of the corporate world and get into your own business. So now you're a little wiser, and whether you're wiser or not, you just know more than you knew before you knew about franchising. Knowing what you know today, at what age do you wish you had become a franchisee? Exactly the way it happened at the age that it did, or do you wish you had done something earlier, and why?
I mean, knowing what I'm knowing now, I wish I had a crystal ball. I would have started years ago. I would have started when I'm, 10 years. I would have got an experience of 10 years at least in the corporate world because I don't want to burn my own money, right? Coming out of college, you don't have enough capital to burn. I would go to the corporate world or work with somebody within an industry that I'm interested in just to learn before I buy my own franchise. Yeah, I wish I would have bought one 20, 25 years ago. And I wish I was in the trade business and I had a crystal ball knowing that AI is coming and started those boring jobs. So those boring jobs today command the highest multiples, believe it or not. Yeah, that's what's happening. Restaurants and anything that's F&B, they command a very low multiple when you want to go to market and sell them.
So, Sal, what's the best thing about being a franchisee?
You control your work, you control your destiny, and if you have high goals, you can achieve them. If you want to work hard, you can work 80 hours a week and make any amount of revenue you want to make. If you're an employee, I mean, there's a ceiling, of course, on how much you can make, and you have a boss that's bossing you around, and you have other employees, and the higher you go up in the ranks, the more difficult it is to stay because you have other. There's a lot of jealousy in the corporate world when you go up.
What's the worst thing about being a franchisee?
Worst thing about being a franchisee are the long hours. Long hours, no vacation time, no weekends, until you find a manager to put in place and you're big enough to be able to afford a manager. That takes time. This is the worst thing, I think, is that you don't have much time for family in the beginning.
So you get your family involved in running your business.
My family is helping me in other stuff. Yes. I mean, you need sometimes I see a husband and wife working in a franchise when they start, when they buy a franchise. That works too. Yeah.
So Sal, if somebody wants to buy a franchise or one of my students want to get in touch with you to learn more because you're in the West Palm Beach area, how do people contact Sal Majzoub?
So you can contact me on my email, Sal, SAL, @tworld.com.
Are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn. Yeah. You can call me. Yeah.
My students will generally go to LinkedIn to find people, and so they may connect with you there as well. And the general population that listens to the Franchise Hot Seat, which I appreciate very much. I'm John Hayes, and I appreciate Sal Majzoub being my guest today. Thank you, Sal.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Franchise Hot Seat Podcast with Dr. John P. Hayes. Tune in next time for more conversation around all things franchising.